You know, Harold, we've covered a lot of territory just in a few minutes, but was there ever a time that you felt that this whole program with OMAG might fail?
Well, there are more than one, but one stands out in particular, and that was in December of, I believe it was 1981, not long after we'd started the liability plan. We had been able to secure reinsurance to go into effect on November 1. I think on November 15, I got a notice that they were canceling the coverage December 31st. And we had not been able to find anyone that would be able to reinsure the program. Just prior to that time, we had brought in a company called Midlands Management to help us as a reinsurance intermediary. And we had Charlie Caldwell from there, he and I, we'd done everything we could think of to find someone to provide coverage. We weren't finding any. We had an emergency board meeting on December 31st of that year. And the board, kind of decided that if they couldn't provide assurance that there was reinsurance for the program, that we would be able to meet our obligations, they didn't think we should continue with the program. And about 4 o'clock, we started writing a telegram that we were going to send to about 250 members at that time, telling them that the coverage was canceled that night. And about 30 minutes later, Charlie started getting word from Lloyd's of London that they had some interest in the program. And I think by 6 o'clock that night, we had been able to get that coverage bound, and we never had to send out that telegram or really even tell many people about how close to the brink we came.
Well, that sounds pretty scary.
It was.
Well, this is interesting because there's a common theme here. I heard Stephen refer to Midlands and Charlie Caldwell and the best really third-party administrator around, and you're talking about Charlie and his group helping us out, and they contribute to the success of OMAG. I see that Charlie just walked in here. We asked Charlie, you want to come on up and join us?
Good to see you, Charlie. Good to see you.
Charlie, Billy, how you doing?
Good to see you.
Caldwell, good to see you.
Harold, good to see you always.
Kevin McCullough.
Kevin.
How are you, Charlie?
Been a while.
It has been.
Cup of coffee, Charlie?
Thank you.
Well, Charlie, we've been talking about relationships. We've been talking about the success, the potential for failure with OMAG. And Stephen speaks very highly of you and your group. It seems like you all have been involved with OMAG and there's been a consistency there. What do you have to say about the relationships and the consistency of those?
Well, I think the relationship with OMAG is it's a textbook definition of a relationship. And we've been able to work together, grow together, and in some very difficult times, and provide reinsurance for a very difficult class of business. And as time has gone on with the social pressures, even back in the late 70s and 80s against law enforcement and in the workers' comp side, there's always been a very difficult risk there for law enforcement, public official liability, and these things. And with the with the management that Harold put in and has continued their own, probably the strongest, in our opinion, the strongest pool in the country. And we write business, public entity business all over the country. In fact, half of our business today is public entity related. And we, going back to the early days at OMAG and watching the growth and the people that Harold brought in and subsequent leaders developed into from a shaky start to a tremendous, very, very stable operation. And one of the things that you look at in any pool, or if you're reinsuring an insurance company, is the strength of the board or the trustees. And the board at OMAG has always been a very, very stable board and involved. And you look at some programs that have failed, whether it be public or private entity, usually it's from a weak board. And the board or the trustees at OMAG have always been anything but weak, and had some great people, and then the longevity of that board. People stay and they're elected on and then get reelected, and people like Stan Alexander, who was several years on board. Patty Kusel was on forever, and so and Bill Tackett was a board member, and all these board members have they came from within the business. They were city officials at one stage, either mayors or city managers or town clerks, whatever. But they all understood the risk of their individual area, and then they built that together into a very strong board. And there's as one goes off, another one comes on that is just as strong, and that all helps create the stability and of the program going forward to what you have today, which is stable insurance company, and with financial capability that most insurers wish they had. When you look at the ratio of premium written to surplus, I mean, it's very enviable. It's better than most insurance companies.
Well, you talked about stability and longevity, and I'm hearing kind of a consistency there. How important did consistency play in what type of role did it play in the leadership of the organization?
Well, I think when you look at an organization, an insurance company or any other company, from 1984 to have only 3 CEOs is pretty remarkable. And with Harold and then the late Pat Parsons and now John. And all of them, I guess the only outsider that came from outside the organization would have been Pat, but he also had that background. So it's leadership background. The leadership has been consistent. And then you look at the senior management of OMAG, Pam Spinks, Stephen, John, others have been in this organization for 20 years or more. And it just speaks to the consistency, and you have to have, that all looks good, but it has to perform. And it does, and they all perform together to serve the cities and towns that are their customers. And I think the customer base knows that if they pick up the phone, if they picked up the phone 10 years ago, if they pick up the phone 6 months from now or 5 years from now, they're going to get Pam Spinks, or they're going to get somebody else that's been there for all these years. It's also with Pam, there's others, Dory and people that have been with that organization for over 10 years, 15 years, and some as long as I go back with the some. But that means so much to the customers, and to know that stability is there. There is some competition and people out shooting for this business, but once the competition understands what it is and understands what they're up against, they kind of go away. But it's just a textbook case of stability and longevity of leadership.